And I just need to pin my view. Good. Okay, let's go. Always like to start with a standing posture. Always like to stand to bring awareness to the feet. Feet out, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Knees out, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Opening of the thighs, opening of the lower back, settling of the center into the legs. Lifting of the chest, lifting of the crown of the neck, releasing of the shoulders, and letting the body settle down. You have to bring the mind and the body together. So the mind tells the body what to do. The muscles need to be told with an intention to change. Otherwise they won't change. They'll just keep their habit of holding us. And what we want to do is encourage the sinking and the settling down. What we're looking for is first for the body to be connected. So there are no kind of like places that are unnecessarily held. The body's released and connected. And beyond that, drop the center into the legs. Drop the center of gravity, change the legs so the center of gravity can fall away from the crown of the head. And you'll experience this as the lower back opening and a feeling of the spine elongating. Feeling of the spine stretching as it falls away from the crown of the head. And with it, a resultant stronger foot pressure on the ground. So if you can change from just simply standing to drop the legs, increase the foot pressure, feel the tailbone change, open, feel the tucking of the tail and the lengthening of the spine, you're on the right track to what we call sinking on the inside of the body, sinking, which is different from just taking the body down. Because if we just lower the body, the foot pressure changes a little bit, but not significantly. The lower back doesn't necessarily open and the spine doesn't necessarily stretch. So when we sink, what we look for is this feeling of foot pressure increasing, lower back opening, spine stretching away from the crown of the head, and the lengthening right the way through the neck. So when we begin the form, we bend the knees to connect the body, then we sink to the right leg, and you should feel the right foot increase in pressure, the spine elongate, the right foot support the weight of the body, so the left heel comes off and the left foot moves across. So the beginning of the form has all those movements of settling down, bending the knees to connect. This is like sinking into sand. Connect the body. Increase the pressure in the right foot by melting and sinking inside the body, elongating the spine. The weight of the body is supported from below. Change the position of the foot. Move across. Turn back. First loosening exercise. When we say lift the body, one way is for the body to naturally rebound. The other method is almost a very small, very, very small, minuscule inflation of the body. So when the body lifts, when the legs activate and engage the body right through to the fingertips, and then take that away, and the body sinks, settles, and connects. And it's the same here. Release, sink, connect, settle. engage the body by engaging the muscles to turn the waist, to throw open the arms right through to the fingertips and release. One smooth movement across. So there's momentum. You don't stop in the middle. Your waist carries on turning and changes from a lift to a sink. But the lifting isn't this type of lifting the body. It's just simply like blowing up a balloon. So the muscles, minimal amount of contraction to throw the arms out and release. As you're coming back to the center position, you can draw the mind up the leg to the waist and out to the wrists. And you can draw it back in as you sink. So your awareness is expanding and drawing in. Expanding up to the wrists and out to the fullness of this circle. And then drawing in. From under the foot, something activates the leg, which turns the hip. Something activates the chest and the arms open out and immediately release. Don't think about turning the body. This uses up far too much muscular force. Don't think about lifting the body. This uses up far too much muscular force. What we want is the minimal, the basic, tiny amount, just like when you blow a balloon up. The balloon fills. It fills the same amount as you blow. There's a relationship between that small breath you put in and how the balloon fills up. And it's the same with the body. When you activate the legs, it turns the hip. The activation in the leg is enough for the hip. The foot isn't going to go anywhere, the foot's on the ground. But the fluid part of the body is that the hip can turn, and you allow it to turn. And you just push enough muscle towards the hip so it turns, and it spreads right through to the fingertips. And without holding it there, you let the body flow across and immediately start drawing down in the opposite leg, drawing down, drawing down. Inflate, draw down. Inflate, wait for the waist to move. Draw down. Inflate, wait for the waist to move. Draw down. Everything towards the foot, everything towards the foot, everything towards the foot, everything towards the foot, finish. Inflate. Draw down. When you draw down, you take away all the holding that you need to stand up. You let your body literally fall, and you take away as much unnecessary holding as you need. Of course, if you're out of alignment, your muscles will tighten to keep you upright. If you're tight, that obviously is tension in the body. You want to soften, soften, soften. The same as we do when we're in standing posture. We let the body settle down into this structure. Here, we let the body settle down into the same structure. Let the body feel familiarity of this posture, letting the body go, keeping all the joints loose, as if a wind would blow through the room, the body would sway. Keeping the body loose, settling down, is what we want to try and find when we're in this posture. So if we just move into that one posture, turn to corner. Find your alignment. All the weight on one leg, settle down. Drop the arms, let the arms swing up. Find that place. Where's the weight in the foot? Can you soften the hips? Can you let the tail fall away from the crown of the head? Can you feel the stretch in the spine? Can you feel the increased pressure in the foot? Or are you holding yourself in posture? Can you align more? Can you release more? Feel that, capture that experience of the sensation in the body. We're going to move then from here into that same place, just the one side, into that same place. Are you just as aligned? Are you just as released? We'll do it again. Just one side. Release. And end up in a very familiar place where your spine is slightly longer, the foot pressure slightly increased to support your weight, and the body fully released. One more time, onto the right leg. Sink, turn, settle, elongate. Now moving across onto the left. Now we're going to move one smooth movement to the middle and across to the right and settle and find that same place. Don't worry too much about this side. What we want to do now is one smooth movement to inflate and find that settled place. Inflate. Now to the left, find that settled place on the left. Falling away from the crown of the head. Good. The experience of how the body feels, regardless of the fact it's to the corner or regardless of the fact it's on one leg, is exactly the same as when we inflate the body and when we settle the body. Here it's in both legs. What's happening on the inside of the body is very similar. We're inflating the legs, we're bringing it up and out to the hands. Our mind or our focus or our awareness is going under the ground, up through the foot. The small amount of activation in the legs moves the center. Small amount of activation in the legs activates the center through to the chest through to the wrists. The arms shouldn't move until they get a signal coming up from below. Now that signal can move through the body quite quickly, but it mustn't be the arms by themselves. What we don't want to do is have the arms move independently without the legs. So when the legs blow into the legs, underneath the legs, you activate the legs, you feel it come up to the chest and out to the wrist. One smooth movement, and then backwards along the same line. Settle, keep settling, keep sinking. Let the rest of the body follow. Activate the legs. Release the legs. Now, if the body's connected, that activation of the legs comes through very quickly. Just like when you have a train and the carriage moves, it takes up the slack before the engine moves, it takes up the slack before the next carriage, and as soon as that slack's taken up, the train moves. And As soon as the next slack is taken up, the next carriage moves. Now, when we're connected, there's no slack in the body. When we're connected, we're pressed into ourselves lightly. There's no slack, there's no gaps. So when we activate the body, it can come through the body quite quickly. Second loosening exercise. Connected posture. Draw down, elongate. The first movement, make sure you're connected. On the first drop of the arms, make sure you're sinking the legs. You are dropping into sound. You are lowering yourself and you're connected. The first drop of the hands, you're connected. Second drop, you're beginning to melt the legs on the inside, drop the center down, let the upper body follow. Keep that sinking going through the whole body. So you feel the feet pressure into the ground, the spine elongate. 4 swings of the arms. So on the first one, connect, 1. On the second, begin the releasing of the legs. 2, the releasing of the lower back, chest, and the shoulders, the crown of the head, all presses it. Coming up is a rebound, but it can also be slightly less refined. It can also be a very light inflation over 4 swings of the arms, and then a release to connect. 1. Then a melting on the inside to sink. 2. Feel the spine elongate. 3. Foot pressure increase, shoulders drop. 4. Very small inflation of the legs. More refined than that is that on the way down you compress. On the way back up, you don't need to add anything. We were talking last week, Fred was saying you can push the foot into the ground a little bit to encourage the wave of force through. Yes, you can, but I would say do that with a minimal of activation of the foot onto the ground to encourage it through. Better and more refined if you can create a stretch on the way down, create a good pressure in the legs on the way down, then that pressure has to go somewhere. When you soften the body onto it, it can bubble up through the changing body. If that's too advanced, then a very small increase in activation of the muscles draws it up. And with it, the mind comes up to the body. Connect, sink, sink, sink. Light activation all the way. Connect. Connect is dropping into sound, dropping into sound. Then on the inside, sink. 2, 3, 4. Activation. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time, sink. Sorry, connect on 1. And then sink on 2. Lower back 3. Body 4. Activation or rebound. Number 3. Connected. Body's connected. Upright. Settle. Soften the head. You're drawing down to the foot. This movement should make you more and more stable in this leg. Softening and folding the hip joint. As you do, the arm goes up. The movement here is related to the movement here. turn the hips, the arm goes out. Try to time it so that the hip movement, if I can face the angle, the hip movement is continuous and the arm movement is continuous, they finish together. Then you draw back on the other side to pull the arm in. Now I'm square. When I start to fold this side, the other arm moves, and this arm drops together. So while this arm is drawing in, I'll do it square to you. While this arm is drawing in, this arm, let's go. This arm sinks and seats, the wrist seats, same time as the turning of the waist. This one carries the other arm. If you can, with this exercise, I would encourage you to look out of a window. And what you'll see is you'll see the corner of the window. So you'll see the line of the window, so this line here, or the line of the middle of the window here. And you'll see beyond it, and the closer line of the window and the line in the distance, you want to keep those two lines together. So if your center moves this way and that way, and this way and that way, those two lines will appear to move. If you can keep those two lines in parallax or whatever, together, you can keep those two lines together. It'll be an indication that your center, so if I stand with my head, we'll just see that little bit of white there. If I stand with my head top below that, when I do this exercise, I don't want my head top to be doing this. I want my head top to stay in the same place. And the head is straight ahead. Don't let the head turn with the body. In this exercise, the head is straight forward. Now to this leg, fold, the arm goes out, now to this leg, fold, the arm weight doesn't draw the movement isn't the weight of the body moving across, it's the sinking through the body that stabilizes me. And it's the same as the beginning of the form. If we do the beginning of the form and you look at where my head top is in relation to this behind me, just make that a bit more obvious, the inside of the curtain. There we go. So if I stand directly below that, in front of that, first bend the knees. Once the body's settled down, first bend the knees, connect. Then transfer the connection to the right foot. We don't want to see the body doing this, because when the weight of the body is over the foot, it stabilizes you. That's just a physical thing, physical external thing. What we want is an internal sinking. So sink, bend the knees, sinking into sand to connect the body. Then on the insides, open the lower back into the legs. Spine stretches, body stabilizes on the right. You have to move the left foot across. You can see the head top stays in the same place. Center line of the body doesn't move across. Have a go. Have a go. Standing posture with the form. Connect. Change the leg so the foot pressure increases, so the lower back opens, so the spine feels elongated. That's the clue, if you like, that you're doing the sinking is taking place. And the result of the sinking is that you get the correct foot pressure that supports the body. The body can drop onto the leg. And the support comes back. It's what we use in the kicking section of the form. When we go into the kicking section, we can't tighten the body to hold us in place. We have to connect, open the lower back into the legs, let the foot pressure increase, let the spine be supported by the one leg, feel that compression through the body. So when we pick up the foot, we've got stability in one leg. And we turn the other way, hands open. Here, this gives us a chance to sink and connect. And then we open the lower back to create foot pressure. We keep dropping onto it. We keep dropping onto it. We stabilize on it. What we don't want to do is kick by leaning back or by staying in the same posture and tightening to kick. We don't want to do the kick quickly by tightening the body and stab at it. We want to settle the body into the base. Pick up the knee, because when we pick up the knee, that amount of weight, the weight of the thigh, will want to pull me forwards. And as a result of this more weight going further forward here, my body will want to naturally tighten or lean to counterbalance. What I want to do is want to drop straight down. Add the weight of your leg to that pressure. Push out the toes. Add the weight of your leg to the pressure. Don't work against the leg. Don't let the leg be something separate. When you pick up the leg, make sure you've already got the stability of the body. When you pick up the leg, it adds more pressure. Adds more sinking to the body. Let's go through the kicking section. Go from snake creeps down in the form. Snake sweep down facing 9 o'clock. From single leg. Both stance. Hips facing 9. Center line facing 9. Connected. Snake creeps down. Sit back. Open up the left toes. Hop it. And facing the corner. And then spiral into the left foot. This is partly connecting, bending the knee, connecting, sinking into sand, immediately followed by sinking, opening the lower back, feeling the foot pressure increase, feeling the body relax, and find that balance point where it's buoyant on the leg. When the knee comes up, it pushes me more onto the ground, and the knee coming up slides the arm into position. It's not that the knee comes up and the hand is separate. It's not there's a gap here. It's not this. Sinking down. Thighs, hand is on the thigh. And when the knee comes up, it pushes the hand into position. We want it to be in the elbow now. So from single whip, snake creeps down into the 50-50, through, sit back, hop onto the left, bring the ball of the foot in. As you land on the left, the ball of the right foot touches, and moving towards the corner, so more towards 8 o'clock, in, hips facing 8 o'clock. I'm going to sink and turn to 9 o'clock. As I arrive in 9 o'clock, step behind, sit away from the hand, turn to the right corner, 10 o'clock, settle down, spiral. Wait for your foot pressure to increase. Wait for your lower back to open. Wait to feel the spine elongate. Then, when you pick up the knee, let it push along your forearm into the back. Turn to the corner. Step behind. Now I'm facing up past 10. Step behind with the left. Scoop up the center of the chest. Sit away from the right hand. This posture is somebody's got your shirt. Your hand goes this way. And instead of trying to do anything here, you just sit away from your hand to break the contact, and your hand turns over. Someone's got your shirt, your right hand comes up to the center line, and as you sit away, it turns over and breaks that contact. So in the form, your hand comes up the center line, and then you sit away from it. If you see where the hand is, if I do it that way, you can see it's on the center line here. You see the center line a bit more clearly. The hand comes up here. It's in line with the white. I sit away from it. It stays on the white. It's not that you do this. You don't push the hand away. The hand stays where it was, and you sit away from it. Turns over. In the form, just on Golden Rooster stance on left. Sorry, it's on right. Comes from Golden Rooster stance on. I turn to the corner. I step behind. No weight in the left. And then when I put the weight into the left, I sit away from the hand. The right hand stays where it is. The left hand to the hip joint. Facing the corner. Turn to the corner, step behind, sit away from the right hand, and facing the corner, turn. Left hand comes out, turn back and it folds in. We've done this lots of times, this movement. The right hand, the right toes come in as I turn, and as I turn back, the right heel comes in. And the hands cross at the height of the throat in a nice circle. It's the same posture, it's almost the same as cross hands, but the left hand is palm away from you. So the left hand is palm away, the right hand palm towards you. My right hand palm towards me, my left hand palm away, and the hands are crossed on the center line of the body at the height of the throat. So I've gone from step behind, sit away from the right hand. Can you see my feet in? As I turn, I first pivot on the heel of the left, and then I pivot on the heel of the right, and then on the ball of the right. Have a look. When I turn, I first pivot on the heel, and then as I turn back, I pivot on the ball. That has the effect of bringing my foot in closer. So because I'm going to go into a kick, it's good to start with the foot close rather than the foot out here. So it brings the foot in ready to kick. And the way I do it is by turning the waist. The heel is like a pivot point on the ground. The heel is like a pivot point on the ground. When you turn the top of the hip, the whole leg comes in and the foot pointing in the same direction as the hips. When you turn back, the foot is still pointing in the same direction as the hips. You draw the toes in, lift the heel, pivot on the ball of the foot. Now the foot is close, the heel of the right is close to the instep of the left foot, ready now to be in this position. Hands crossed. Turn open. As I turn, the hands lift. Now they're in a palm down position. They were. Right palm towards me, left away. As I turn, the left hand comes on top. But we're in this position. As I turn, the left hand is now on top. As I turn back, my right hand is going to be drawn through my left as I turn and drop. The left hand drops. The right hand is drawn through, then they both drop. They drop parallel to the ground, out to the corners, and span from the body. Have a look at the move. Golden Rooster stands on right. Step to the Golden Rooster stands on right. Turn. Step behind. Sit away from the right hand. Turn and bring the toes in. Lift the left hand. Turn back. Bring the heel in. Hands cross and facing the corner. Spiral up. The left hand is on top. The hands are lifted from the height of the throat to the height of the brow. As I turn back, the right hand is pulled through by the turning of the body. And now both hands are going to drop to the corners as I sink and stabilize. I pick up the knee, push the toe out. Grab the hands and the foot. Do that again. Turn to the corner. Sit back away from the right hand. Turn open. Turn back. Spiral up and lift the hands, the left on top, palm down, sink. Draw the right hand through. Sink as you pick up the knee. Together. Parallel to the ground, one span from the body. Palms vertical. When you chop here, vertical to the ground. Not flat, not at an angle, vertical. The palm is open and there's a nice line along the whole of the arm. It's not bent, a straight line. There. One span from the body, one span to the elbow, to the corners. Moving on to the left leg, pick up the knee, push out the toe. Can I have a look at you do that move from single whip, please? Just going to go into a different screen view. Good. Take your time and just do it in your own pace. It'll highlight what you know of the move, and you can ask any questions at any point. Okay, good, 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 good. A couple of points I'll go over. I'll refine a few things. Of course, it's horrible to be watched when you're trying to stand on one leg, but you know, I have to do it. It highlights to us where we're holding on, because it's only the sinking we can rely on. Any holding, any tension, any lifting through the body, we know isn't going to work. Any cantilevering to get the weight of the leg isn't going to work. So we have to rely on that closing of the body and it pressing into itself and onto the ground. And if we're relaxing and sinking and there's still tension in the leg, and the leg hasn't changed and hasn't softened underneath the weight of our body, of course it makes us unstable. So it's really, really good posture, really, really good posture, even though it's one of the hardest ones. And especially with the turning and the sinking and the spiraling on one leg, you know, it's challenging. But try and make the arms fit with what the body's doing. Just like we do the movements at the beginning of the form, just like we do the loosening exercise, try and get the arms to coordinate so the turning and the sinking all happen together. It's not something you do as an extra thought with the arm. It's not something you do as an extra thought from the leg. The main thing I'm seeing in the most people is that when people are turning, they're lifting the elbows too high. Here, when you lift the elbows, stay low. So you see that shape here, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're not looking for that. You're not looking for a flat movement across here. Don't lift the elbows up high. So when you turn to open here, when you come back here, across, when you turn here, don't lift the elbows. Just lift the wrists. Let the elbows stay connected. Let the shoulders stay connected. And then when you turn back, they're already in a connected place and you just have to fall into the posture. Whereas if they're up here and you've disconnected the shoulders or lifted the shoulders, you've got to first put the shoulders back into a connected place. So it's a bit inefficient. Yeah. Have another go, just that little bit from Golden Rooster, sitting away from the hand, turn into cross hands, spiraling up, just making sure the shoulders stay low and the elbows don't come up. I'm presuming everybody knows these moves quite well, so I'm just kind of going over some of the polishing of it, really. I'm looking much, much more at the principles than the actual moves themselves. So as the hands reach parallel to the ground, as they reach their point, that's when the kick, that's when you push the toe out, as the hands reach, all together. Two hands in place plus the toe in place at the same time. Right. Then if you're doing the Chinese 24-point form, the judges will give you the points. Points for balance, points for coordination of the body. And they're not looking at internal changes. Good. Any observations in that section for you? You can unmute and ask, talk. Good, you want to practice, that's great. Okay. Good. So what I'm seeing that's good is I'm seeing people putting focus on how the turning of the body coordinates with the movement. So an open turn back. I'm seeing how the settling of the body is giving you stability, which is great. And I'm seeing quite a lot of upright, nice upright bodies as well. So it's kind of like I'm looking good. Christine, a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. So you've got a nice short span from the body to the elbow when the arms go out. It's quite a, yeah, and it helps with the balance parallel to the ground. So the forearms nice and flat and parallel to the ground. A little bit difficult to tell with the camera angle, but yeah. And the palms are vertical, chopping down. But yeah, that's it. Great, good. Jim, when you turn, make sure you're turning one way to bring the arm out, one way to bring the arm back. All from the turning of the center. Yeah. So the arm doesn't come back by itself, doesn't come back without the center turning. You turn the body and the arm opens, and it's opening the whole time you're turning back, and it's closing and finishes exactly the same time the body finishes turning. Yes.
In the film of Chen Manching, there's, you know, he does quite a quick kick, and he also moves his arm sort of in sync with it, doesn't he? Sort of like,
right.
You noticed that?
Yeah, I have. I don't know what he was doing half the time. He's on another level. So what I'm trying to share, if you like, is a really good question, Robert. It's really good. It's really good because it's what we're trying to do. If you just stop a minute, I'll talk to you a little bit. What we're trying to do is we're trying to learn how to progress and move towards something. And the stages of learning, and if you notice, if you ever turn up at one of the beginners classes, you'll notice what the beginners are asked to do is very different from what we're asked to do. And there's a natural kind of like development of how you understand the internal changes of the body. You work with the same exercises, but you focus in on it in a certain way. When you can do that, you work with the next layer, the next layer, the next layer, the next layer. So actually the layers you might be working on are not the same as what Chen Manching is working on, or Master Huang, or Jin, Patrick, or something. They're the layer you need to work on the fundamental things that you understand a little bit ahead of where you can understand, that you can train yourself to develop and get better at what you do. Be that physically soften the body, physically align the body, mentally come to a more centered place. So these are kind of like levels that you work on. That means what we're actually doing is maybe we're not learning Tai Chi exactly as someone else does it, but we're learning in levels that are easier to understand and promote a development that enables us to get further on with it. It's a bit like building a house. You do a foundation. If the foundation is knackered, you're not going to get a 3-story building out of it. And it's like that. But the foundation, the flat foundation, thick bit of concrete, doesn't look anything like a house. Looks a little bit like a house. And that's kind of the layers we're working on with our training. So when we talk about some of the things are really refined and really quite difficult to do, we have to work a little bit underneath that at a more simplistic level to enable us to get the training we need then to kind of like do the next thing. Because if the roof trusses are not strong enough, you're not going to put all those tiles on. They're going to cave in. So the body needs to be organized and the mind needs to be still enough to then understand the subtleties of the next things we want to build into the training. So the observation that Chen Manqing is doing something different, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
It's okay not to understand it as well.
Yeah, it's fine not to understand it. Yeah, it's totally fine not to understand it. You kind of understand Tai Chi when you can do it. When you can do one of those layers, you understand that layer. Before then, it's a bit of a mystery. What's he on about? He's saying to open his lower back and feel the stretch in the spine. I can't feel that. Well, when you can feel it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Until then, you're imagining it or you're trying to do it. When you can do it, oh yeah, that's what he means. And we keep having those little breakthroughs in our practice over years. And they kind of keep us going. Oh yeah, I can do that. That locks into the next bit of the form that I understand, and it builds into like a jigsaw. Let's go through that last section of the form because Brian asked about it a couple of times. Might go over a few minutes, but I'm okay with that. So again, from snake creeps down, have a look at the moves. Centrally stable, not over on the right, left leg, not sitting back, right in the middle, 50-50. Sink to the front foot. You don't need to come over the front foot. Sink immediately to the front foot. This is like the third loosening exercise. Sink to the foot. You don't need to come over it. Sink to the front foot. Beginners, move over the foot for your stability. Next layer. You don't need to move onto your foot for your stability. You sink through the body and you get your stability. Can you see how the layers start to work? Sink, open the lower back, stretch the spine, find your stability here. That allows you to turn around this still leg. This leg does not move. Hips turn, hip joints open, back foot opens, sit back, sink. Move into the 50-50. Load the back leg, sink to the front leg, wave comes through to the head. Sit back. As you sit back, you draw the hands to the hip, open the foot to the corner. Move in. As you onto the left, sink down through the body, sink down through the body, sink down through the body to lift the arms. So the melting of the body down, the dropping of the shoulders down draws the arms up. The arms come up, not by lifting the arms independently, but you're looking for change in the sinking of the body, the opening of the lower back, the dropping of the shoulder. And I've talked before about this pivot point on the arm, that here on the arm. So when the shoulders drop down, the forearm has got much more movement. If the pivot point was in the middle, you'd have the same movement in the hand as the shoulder, but it's a very small movement in the shoulder that gives a big movement in the arm because the pivot point is much closer to the shoulder. So the movement here sit back, jab down. This is someone's going to kick you and you block. And then maybe you take their leg or their foot and you lift it. Maybe flip them. I don't know what the application is, but the feeling is you're protecting the groin. This is the same time as you land in the foot. Stabilize. And then you sink. Lift. And the wrists are, the left is on the inside, crossed at the height of the throat, and it's flat across the top of the wrist. It's not V-shaped, it's flat. Again, can you see this dome with the elbows low? It's not that, and it's not that. Elbows low in a nice round shape. They're not close to the body, nice and round, one span from the body to the wrists. The hands drop over a ball. As they drop, so you can see my feet, all the weight to the left, you step behind, and the turning draws the right hand to the hip, open, and as you turn back, both hands turn. This is a span and a half from the ground. And it comes with a turning, sinking in, strike. Together, sink. Hands drop over a ball, step behind. Turn to draw the right hand through the hip joint, open. And back. Turn to the right. Drop the hands and swing through to the left. The left elbow is going to go on top of the right wrist. And then both hands stay in that position until the left arrives in place. And then with the last little bit of turning, the right opens. Hands parallel. So from here, all the weight in the left, sink. Hands come up. Punch to the same stars. Step back to ride tiger. Turn to sweep lotus. Hands are parallel with the elbow of the left looking into the right palm. Parallel, vertical to the ground. Turn the right hand arm down. Bring the left elbow with the turning body onto the back of the top of the wrist. And they stay in that configuration as you go around. Quickly stabilize in the left, and as you finally turn to face the front, the right hand comes around, and they finish in position at the same time that you're fully stable. Back, sink onto the left, release. Punch to the 7 stars. Step back to ride tiger. Turn to sweep lotus. No weight in the ball of the left. Lightly balanced. Turn. Quickly stabilize and finish so that you're ready to sweep the leg into the next move straight away. Have a go.
Could you mute everybody again, Luke? Because you were losing you there a wee bit.
Yeah, sure. Was that just the voice that was missing? Okay. Shoulders drop to lift the wrist. Sink. Hands fall over a ball. Step behind, draw the right hand through the quad, open, turn back to strike. Bless me. Good. Depend what floor surface you're on, how easy the turn is. Sometimes on a carpet, it's not so easy with shoes on. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Running out of time, guys. So next week is half term. There isn't a class next week. And then I think we've got 5 or 6 weeks to Easter. I think I mentioned it in the email. So I'll send you the recording tomorrow. What I'll do is I will do a recording of that turn to Sweet Lotus and send it to you. I'll give you a detailed deep dive into that, how I do that turning, how I do that sweep, that movement. See if that helps. Be about 5 or 10 minute video, just as a look, kind of like, then keep you going in those 2 weeks. So we've got no class next week, and we're back in 2 weeks' time. Great.
Cheers, Luke.
Thanks very much. Keep well, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thanks again, Luke.
Thanks. Cheers, Luke.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.